apparently
You're
there's
listening to Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
Hello, Forgers, and welcome to episode 3 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm your host, Jeff Reynolds, and today I'm joined by the superbly talented Heroes of the Storm Twitch streamer and everyone's favorite Rank 1 Abathur player, logging hundreds and hundreds of hours playing everybody's favorite space slug, Abathur 1613. How's it going, dude?
It's going pretty good. How are you doing?
Awesome. I am so stoked to have you, and to have the chat room filled up with the Slug Nation. I totally dig it. You got the best fans, and I'm one of them.
Yeah, my community's pretty wild.
Yeah, they're great. It's great to have a great Twitch community. I know I've been in that chat room many times talking back and forth to those guys, and they're great to be on this stream today. So, dude, Abathur, tell me a little bit about your history with Blizzard Games and your history with any of them, whether it's Heroes of the Storm, Starcraft, Diablo. Give me a little background.
When I was a little kid in elementary school, because I'm not very old, I'm only 22, but when I was in elementary school, I had a really rinky-dink computer and a really crappy dial-up connection, and my aunt picked up the original Starcraft and Brood War and Diablo 2, and I spent every single day after school doing bail runs, lagging everywhere, no idea what's going on, having the time of my life, playing, use your map settings games on StarCraft with 10-minute load times and stuff, and it was just a blast. I grew up with Blizzard games, when Vanilla WoW launched and everything. I followed every single Blizzard game since its inception and just loved it. Their games have always been just an absolute blast to play. So,
yeah, have you kept up with WoW, or were you just a vanilla player?
I did get into each expansion, but I didn't actually ever play until max level, because when I played World of Warcraft, I always I always explored and got into crafting and messing around, and I never actually just power leveled to the max level, so I always just kind of seemed to run out of sub time and money before I could get to the max level. But then in Pandaria, I finally did and started raiding and stuff, but I don't know, I just kind of got bored of the end game grind, so I kind of gave up, and then Heroes of the Storm came out, and just no life now. Just Heroes of the Storm every day. So good.
No, I totally feel you, man, about the WoW subscriptions and stuff. I can remember times when I was in college, and I would have to choose between eating dinner or paying my $15 WoW monthly subscription. And let's just say I lost a lot of weight when I was over there in college, because I played a lot of WoW. But, dude, that's great. And yeah, I can definitely relate on a lot of levels when it comes to Heroes of the Storm, because I play that a lot too. But man, you play a ton. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about how much Abathur you play and when you started playing him, because I know that's your main, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Basically what happened was, for a very long time since League of Legends was in beta, I was hardcore League of Legends player, played a lot of Dota 2 as well, kind of juggled back and forth, loved MOBAs, and I got StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm when it launched, played through the campaign, and that's where I met Abathur, and I'm like, he's such a strange, unique character, and just how he acted, and I just fell in love with him as a character, and then, and I liked MOBAs, but I was getting kind of bored of playing League all the time, the community was just bad, and then they started showing off at BlizzCon, Heroes of the Storm, when they were, first revealing it, and they were showing off all the neat mechanics that were, totally cool for a MOBA, and they, showed Abathur in his kit, and I'm like, that's awesome, because I like having, sort of a global control of the battlefield, and not many MOBAs really give you that, and so once I got in the early tech alpha and played it, and I played, a little bit of each hero, but I kind of figured I'd like Abathur most. I played him. It was absolute blast. We just clicked, and I'm like, I want to learn this guy. I want to know his ins and outs. I want to be the best at him. And so I just played him and played him and played him. And I still play him and play him. He's so fun. Every patch, there's always something new going on with him. That, even under the hood that's not in the patch notes, I pick at every little thing and find stuff that's got snuck in and stuff. So he's an absolute blast.
I have to be honest. I have played a little bit of Abathur. I think I got him at rank 6, but I cannot believe that's one of the reasons I really enjoy your stream, because the mine placement and the placement of the actual tune, in the game, and it's just you have to have such a serious map consciousness when you play Abathur. And I think that probably all the StarCraft that you played probably really, really helped you, because I didn't play a whole ton of StarCraft growing up. I was more, Diablo and WoW and all that stuff. But I think StarCraft really helps with with Heroes of the Storm Abathur, don't you think?
Well, I could agree with that, but actually, you'd be surprised to hear this, but I'm actually really bad at StarCraft, ladder. I actually just play the arcade games. I mean, I played through the campaign on, normal, and sometimes I can handle it on hard, but, I lucked out with getting gold in ladder. I'm actually really bad at it. I get beat by everybody I play against, but
I guarantee
honestly,
I'm worse than you. I guarantee.
Well, I think the main thing that helped was just playing him so much, and what I did was I just turned my sensitivity up so that I could move my camera around a lot faster, and just got into a habit. What I'd like to do is actually stare at the minimap and pretend that the minimap is my game screen and that the main screen is sort of like the minimap. And then that way you see every single icon that's going on, every time someone leaves his lane, so you always know where you should be putting mines. It's like, if I'm just staring at my minions that I'm attacking and stuff, I might not see, somebody's icon go into a bush coming at me to kill me and stuff. So
Right.
the more you stare at a minimap, the more conscious of the battlefield's flow you'll be. So overall, you'll play a lot better once you kind of get into the habit of doing that.
Yeah, I don't expect you to remember this because of how many games you play, but there was a game I watched you stream where this Kael'thas had come in and they were laning against two other heroes, and the Kael'thas wiped the two other heroes out, but had just the tiniest little bit of health and was walking away, and you just popped that mine down there and just wrecked him, and I just laughed so hard. That was one of the moments where I was like, that's a pro Abathur player right there. Right there is just watching for those little moments on the minimap where you can just take advantage of it.
Yeah,
So,
some of my favorite moments with Abathur, I'd have to say, are moments where, a fight breaks out and it's over, and there's an enemy hero with just a shred of health left, and I have vision, and I tunnel, drop my locust, and they get bodied in and they die, and you just slash dance on their corpse, and you just know they gotta be mad. You just see 'em.
oh,
It's
they're on the
so
other
cool.
end of that microphone, and
Oh,
they are
yeah.
going, what the? They're just going crazy on it, I swear. Yeah. So definitely, if you're listening to this show and you don't already watch Abathur 1613 on Twitch, you have got to get on that. He streams all the time, and we'll talk about that a little more. But let's go ahead and let's get into today's episode and the hero that we're forging. So if you're a first-time listener to the show, which I know a lot of the Slug crew in the chat is a first-time listener to the show, just a little background of how this is going to work. Me and the guest host will go through all of the Forged Heroes kit, and it's up to the guest host to pick a Blizzard character from any of the Blizzard gaming universes to bring to life for Heroes of the Storm. Nothing is out of bounds for us in this forging. We just basically have fun. We're gonna come up with some ideas that I guarantee are not going to be practical for the game. They're not going to be. They're just going to be for fun. We don't expect some of these things to be in the game, but who knows? Maybe at some point a Blizzard developer will hear us, or if one of the heroes that we forge eventually shows up in the Nexus, I know I'm going to claim that. So, so cool. It's definitely it's going to be a blast. So, dude, you got to tell me, what hero are we forging today?
We are going to be forging the Overmind.
Oh, no way. I'm so excited. Okay, let's forge.
Let's forge.
The Overmind from the Starcraft Universe. This is going to be cool. There are those moments where there are heroes in the game like Abathur or like Cho'Gall that come out, and I never played any other MOBAs, but I can tell by the reaction of the community that those characters are very different, and I feel like the Overmind would be one of those, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's already, Abathur is already more unique than almost any character in any other MOBA, and the Overmind would take it, honestly, a step further.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally agree. So now is the part of the show where we're going to give a little bit of a background of the character that we'll be forging. Again, just a reminder, this is just a short summary of the character's background. A character like the Overmind has a huge plethora of lore behind it and involved in all of the games. So we can't be expected to do that, and we don't want to bore all of you with all those petty details sometimes. But I get a lot of my information from starcraft.wikia.com and also from Wikipedia and watching videos on YouTube. So I will link all of those in the show notes for this episode on our website, HeroesForge.club, and you can check it out if you want to learn a little bit more about the Overmind. So I thought I'd start with a quote on this one, and it goes like this. It's Oros speaking to Zeratul. The Zerg were altered. A single overriding objective was forced on them, the destruction of our people. The Overmind was formed with thought and reason, but not with free will. It seemed and ranged a poisonous of its own mind. So that was really cool. I thought that was a good way to start it. So the Overmind is the center of the Zerg Swarm's hive mind society. It's created by the Xel'Naga as a single consciousness for their experiments on the Zerg. At some point during its creation, it was secretly enslaved by the fallen Xel'Naga Aemon, who implanted it with the directive to destroy the Protoss and bound the Zerg to a hive mind. The Overmind becomes aware of Xel'Naga, attacking and assimilating its masters. Through this, the Overmind learns of the existence of the Protoss and is determined to assimilate the fellow Xel'Naga-empowered species, believing this will result in perfection. To provide the necessary force to overcome the Protoss, the Overmind targets the psionic potential of the Terrans for assimilation. He also assimilated Sarah Kerrigan so as to create a weapon to free the Zerg from the control of his Dark Master. The Zerg and Protoss clash on various Terran worlds, eventually leading to Zeratul assassinating the Cerebrate Zazaz. Zazaz's death momentarily links the minds of the Overmind and Zeratul, allowing the Overmind to learn the location of the Protoss homeworld, Aiur. The Overmind quickly launches an invasion on Aiur and manifests itself on the planet's surface. Following a lengthy and costly campaign on Aiur, Tassadar harnesses the energies of the Dark Templar to strike the Overmind directly, disintegrating it. Although no longer a major character in the story, the remains of the original Overmind appear again in StarCraft II. Following the interception of psionic fragments recovered by Zeratul on Olan by the Zakahul, Zeratul deduces that the Great Hungerer, referenced by the prophecy, refers to the Zerg Overmind. So, alongside Kerrigan, the Overmind was rated the 8th most diabolical video game villain by GamePro. I thought that was a really, really, really interesting comment, that it was the 8th most diabolical villain of all time in video games.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think that's cool?
Yeah, he's just everywhere, basically, branching out across worlds and space, and he's just got his tendrils in everything.
Yeah, so how do we bring that to Heroes of the Storm is the real question. So now let's go ahead and talk about, if we were forging the Overmind for the Nexus, what would the role classification be for this hero? What do you think?
Would have to be specialist, honestly.
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought, is that would have to be specialist. And there's so many different ways this can go. Mm-hmm. And when I was building my kit for him, I was looking at it thinking, how are we going to do this so that it doesn't act too much like Abathur? Mm-hmm. And do you have some thoughts on that?
Well, I kind of drafted up a kit with like basic abilities as Z and ultimates ideas and stuff that I thought was kind of like Abathur, but was different enough, I think. But I don't know. That would be up to everybody else to decide if they thought.
Chad is saying little Abathur incoming. I think this is going to be a thing where we can try to come up with ways to make him different too. So I had a trait that I had in mind, and this kind of basically lays out all of the ideas that I had for his kit. So if we don't decide on this, then maybe we'll have to go different directions. But I called it One Mind to Rule Them All, and I thought it would be neat to have the Overmind replace the core.
Yeah,
So
that's part of mine too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to have him go over the core was.
Yeah, so that would be your core then.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and I thought that maybe, like Abathur, it could spawn Cerebrits, or what he spawns in the game to control the fellow Zerg is what he spawns in the game, I guess.
That is actually also what mine was. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Like literally, word for word, the Overmind spawns a Cerebrit on top of any allied fort or keep. That is literally what I had written down.
Oh, well, great minds, man. I'm telling you. So, what did you think his trait would be? Do you think that that's the trait, or did you have an idea for it?
I think that would probably be the only one that would really make sense. I mean, I couldn't think of any way that they would, at least lore-wise, make his interactions make sense, because I went and I read a bunch of lore on it, and the Overmind himself does not actually give orders or interact with things. He creates Cerebrits, and then he gives them directives, and they handle it, the broods. So
Right.
the Cerebrits would be like his command centers of what would, control what's going on and whatnot.
Right. Okay. So cool. So obviously this is when we would talk about the mounting ability for this character, and I'm going to go ahead and say that the Overmind's not going to be able to ride the brown horse.
I don't know, maybe the treasure goblin, but yeah,
Or the
probably
holiday
not.
treasure goblin.
Oh yeah, the festive one.
I think it should be the holiday treasure goblin. That would be perfect. Okay, cool. So no mounting ability, and we're both in agreement that when the game was to begin, if this was a concept for the game, the Overmind would take over the core.
Yeah.
So there wouldn't be any movement either of the Overmind.
No, but I did have an idea for his Z.
Okay.
Because seeing as how the Overmind wouldn't directly move, it would seem kind of silly to just not give him any mobility. And I thought, as I was kind of drafting some ideas for the kit, one of the concerns that somebody I was mentioning the kit to said was like, I think a lot of people wouldn't like the idea that you've drafted because it doesn't seem to bring anything, well, not anything, but not enough to a team fight. And I thought, well, what if his Z, instead of being a movement speed buff for himself, could make a sort of area of effect that would buff the movement speed of his allies and minions and mercenaries globally on a decently long cooldown.
Right. So in that respect, it would be kind of like a support.
Yeah, sort of. Like, Abathur's shield is like a support, but
Right.
he's not a support. So it's okay to have support-based abilities on some characters. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are meant to support. You know what I mean?
Right. That's a really good idea. Yeah. Okay, so is that one of your core abilities for the Overmind, is to drop maybe like some sort of, for lack of a better word in my mind right now, like a totem or something that would increase movement speed?
Well, I was thinking, it could be like a hormone gas or something that would be like a big AoE, and then I was thinking to kind of keep it from being like ridiculous early game, it would just give movement speed while inside of it, so that, you'd be passing through it and you'd move a little bit faster, so you could use it to like move your minion waves up to make more pressure, help an ally escape or like juke in battle, and then later you might be able to talent it into like having it, kind of decay over time after you exit it for like a nice chase buff for your team and stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's really good, especially if they're like squishies in lane or something. You could totally run them down and take them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously, you could talent into it to make it, wider AoE, like, Frost and all that stuff from Jaina. I think that's really clever. Okay, so...
Because like one of the big things that I really like about Abathur is that Abathur has so many viable builds that can be used in so many different ways that I would like to see if they did have an Overmind. I feel like if you're going to have a global hero, he has to be able to fill a lot of roles so that he can kind of fit in where he needs to, since he's obviously not going to have as much of an upfront presence as other heroes. So the ideas for his kit that I had in mind was something that would kind of give him a presence even though he's not physically there. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and I'm hoping that what he spawns, Cerebrits, I hope that they would also give a presence on the field. And that's really what I was thinking for one of his abilities. So before we move on to the next ability, what did you call that one? What did you want to give it a name for the cloud that increases movement speed?
I'm not actually sure. I didn't actually think of anything for that.
We could make that as Q, right?
I mean, you could, but like, I had an idea for his QWE and then both ultimates that I'd
Okay.
throw at you, but I was thinking for a Z, it might be okay. I mean, because there's a lot of heroes
Cool.
that have all kinds of unique Zs, like how Brightwing can, teleport and stuff. So I wouldn't think it'd be too bad to have it as a movement-based ability, since he
Great
doesn't
idea.
technically move.
Cool. What did you say the name of the gas was?
I don't know, something like hormones or something.
Cool.
It would obviously end up something Zergy, like metabolic hormone or
Yeah.
something, but yeah.
I love that idea, though, because that definitely has the feel of the Zerg, maybe
Yeah.
just like a cloud that comes out. And if you're on the opposing team, a counter for that would just be to watch out for that nasty cloud.
It's like,
'Cause if
oh,
you-
there's a cloud there, just don't be near it, and they're not going to chase you down, you know what I mean?
Right. And in its own way, I guess it's a form of CC, because then,
It's a
you're really
zoning
not...
tool.
Exactly. Yeah, you're not going any slower, but they're going faster. So,
Adrenal pheromones, yeah,
Yeah,
that'd work.
oh, that's good. I like that.
Pheromone rush, yeah, there's all kinds. Adrenal overload, there's all kinds of names you could give it. but,
Yeah. I love it. Great. Okay, cool. So we'll go ahead and do that, and that'll be like a cloud that speeds up movement speed of characters. And then what were you thinking for Q?
The idea that I had for his Q, I mean, you played StarCraft, right?
Right.
So you know the sunken colonies that were like your defensive towers that shot a tendril underground and would impale you basically and just
Right.
absolutely murder your marines. Bad idea. I was thinking his Q ability would just summon a big tendril from under the ground and
Okay.
kind of like Kerrigan's W impale, like that without any CC, and it would be a global ability wherever he has vision. So I mean, a team fight's breaking out. You've got to watch out for these tendrils stabbing you from underground. He's got his cloud speeding his allies up, and then the other abilities that I had in mind as well, stacking on top of all that. But I mean, I imagine with like talents, you might even be able to spec it into being like a snare or have a slow on it. And I'm not sure what kind of a cooldown or damage it would have, but I figure it would be a way to keep him present in team fights, doing damage and stuff. I mean, you have a Tehran shoot an owl across the map. Oh, it hits KT. There's a tendril, and he's dead. You know what I mean? Like, obviously,
that
it wouldn't
mind
be
moment.
instantaneous. They would show an area so you could avoid it, but a good Overmind is going to lead it and make it land. So.
Yeah, maybe it had some sort of like a Nubarak thing where you could see it coming in the ground like before.
Yeah,
it
like the
came up
ground
and-
shake a little bit, like a
Yeah,
little,
and
like a
shot
little,
out.
Yeah, that'd be
You know,
great.
as you're saying this, I'm thinking, how cool would it be if when it shot out of the ground, it stayed there or you could spec into it staying there for a certain amount of time to
And
do
being,
like a
like,
body
buried.
block.
Yeah, being like
Yeah,
a
or-
barrier for terrain, kind of like
Yeah.
a little wall. Yeah, that'd be neat.
Yeah, because like you said, you got to have a presence of that hero even if they're not,
There.
out there.
Yeah.
So that would be something that, got to throw out my tendril so that I can body block,
Yeah, the
ETC
enemy
from-
team's at a choke point, and you throw it up, and the ETC gets stuck on it, and you can't, mosh your team. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not necessarily stunning it, but just blocking it.
yeah,
I love that.
just being a very small little terrain.
Yeah, that's totally cool. Okay, so that's W, or that's Q, and it's a global ability. And we're going to call that...
I'm trying to see if I actually gave it a name. I know I didn't actually give the abilities any names. I just drafted up a bunch of its Q would be a small delayed tendril, and then a bunch of other
Yeah, yeah.
information. So I didn't actually come up with any names. So
Yeah, let's... Chad is saying, too, that you could spec the tentacle to have a knockback, too.
oh yeah,
So
like
not-
they could swing around and do damage and be like a
Yeah. Oh, man, that's a really good idea. I really like... I like the tendril idea because also, a lot of Qs play into line attacks, so that
Yeah.
could be a line attack, especially if it had a pushback and stuff. So great. No, that's killer. Okay, cool. So we'll have chat come up with a name for that one too, and we'll get back to that. And then what was your idea for W?
Okay, so I got a little flack for this one, because a lot of people were complaining that it sounded too much like Zagara's, but I was thinking it could drop pod from the Leviathan, some like infested Terran, and I was thinking, it'd either be like the old StarCraft one, suicide bombers or whatever, or even just the ranged ones, but like it would be something that acts a lot like hunter killers, unlike a lot of other summons where they will not engage any kind of summoned unit, no structures, nothing. They see a hero, they try to kill it. They just hunt it down. So there's a big team fight breaking out. You're throwing your tendrils up. You drop pod in these, suicidal kamikaze guys that are running down the squishies, or, actually probably be better if they were ranged. That way there's actually a chance to kill them, so they're not just, but I mean, so you've got these minions harassing, and tendrils are stabbing you and stuff, so you're on your toes. There's all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah. No, man, you shouldn't get flack for that. That's good.
Yeah.
And, it's similar because it's Zerg.
Yeah, and like chat said, I mean, to make it even, more, it would be like the Overmind would actually be able to control the infested Marines. I mean, they can be on a timer so they can't go everywhere, but it should be able to control it. Like, I feel like the Overmind should play a lot more like an RTS and have a lot more control over the battlefield and kind of be like a commander kind of a deal.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. I had the same thought because I was thinking about everything that it's spawning to. Just exactly like an RTS. You can drag a box over them, drop it down, and you can control those infested Marines that it just dropped off. I think that's a great idea. I think that's really cool. Now, they probably, like you said, we don't want to make them OP. So
they'd have to have a duration, be killable, hopefully controllable, so that you would be able to micro them where they needed to be and whatnot, but and obviously only where you have vision, because that would be ridiculous.
Oh yeah, no, it's the same as the an RTS. You got to get there, right?
Yeah.
You got to see what you're looking at.
Also, taking a quick step back, one thing that we actually haven't mentioned is, since the Overmind takes over the core, how would he soak? And I had an idea for that, in that the trait that I wrote up for him being the spawning of a Cerebrate, what I wrote up was, he'll spawn a Cerebrate on an allied fort, and then if that fort dies and kills a Cerebrate, it would cause the full death timer for the Overmind, because how do you kill the Overmind? How do you get experience from him? How do you get him out of the battle? Stuff like that. So the idea I had was, the start of the game, he picks a lane, he puts a Cerebrate on that fort, and then what would happen is like maybe an Overlord or something would spawn over the minion waves, give him a little bit of a buff or something, maybe make him drop like broodlings when they die, to create some kind of pressure, and the Overlord would soak for the Overmind and be his soaking tool, and then it would be just like killing the minion that Abathur's having. If they kill the Overlord, it denies the soak. So there's a big team fight, say it's Cursed Hollow, Tribute's top, you spawn your Cerebrate bot lane, bam, you got Overlords, they're soaking bot lane for you, and unless they go shut it down, they're not denying your soak, and then you could drop your minions bot lane and micro them and start harassing a tower, or you could focus on the team fight and whatnot, but be a little bit of everywhere at once, kind of like Abathur, but you'd have a lot more of a push presence than Abathur does, because Abathur gets outpushed by just about every specialist in the game, because his Locust can't take any real upfront damage. But I had some ideas that would make the Overmind a much, much stronger pusher than Abathur is, at least up front, with his E ability, which we would be coming up to.
Yeah, go for it, man. Let's hear it.
Okay.
I love all of those ideas that you just talked about. I think that's good, and I love the push mentality of it, because I feel that in the lore. That might be silly to say, but I feel it in the lore.
He's everywhere at once, and that's like the whole idea of the Overmind, is he makes Cerebrates and they carry out his kill orders for him, and so you would want the Overmind to be like this big presence that you fear everywhere on the battlefield.
That's right, and you got to feel that pressure. So what is your E? What are you thinking?
Okay, so coming back on the fact that, you're the core, so you're not moving around. There's not really anything for you to do, so obviously you want something to micro. So I thought, instead of having it be an ult ability, kind of like Abathur's Monstrosity, but let the Overmind summon a Brutalisk, which would be like a very large, it's a unit in StarCraft 2, so I mean, if you Google it, you'll know what on earth I'm talking about, but it would act a lot like Misha does, in that it gives experience when it dies. You know, it scales with level, has talents that it can be spec'd into. It can collect, you know, coins, tributes, whatever, and it can take merc camps on its own if you're, you know, supporting it with your other minions and spells. You know, so that would be your you know, your presence. You know, you would be running this thing into team fights and bodying people and murdering them with it, or you could be shoving towers down with it. But I mean, it does give experience when it dies, and it'll be on a very long cooldown and whatnot. But it wouldn't quite be like Monstrosity, because it's not something that you would just be able to spawn anywhere. It would have to spawn out of wherever your Cerebrate is. And I was thinking what would kind of make it nice is that obviously the Overmind wouldn't be able to have a Cerebrate on every single fort, just one at a time, and it would go on cooldown like Murky Egg, and then you could move it, and when it would die, it would regrow in like an egg sac at the fort, and then it would show on the map, kind of like how the boss does whenever you cap a boss or a merc camp, and it shows you where it is, so that they know when it spawns, so that they kind of have an idea of when it's back in action. So it's not something that is just going to pop up, you know, like top lane the second the Abathur wants Monstrosity to be there. You know, the enemy team will kind of know where it's coming from, but after it's spawned, they won't know where you went with it. But, you know, kind of to keep it viable. But I feel like, you know, between summoning minions and with the tendrils and the gas, you might be able to scurry around with it and, you know, steal merc camps while everybody's not paying attention, and, you know, just run it in and make it be like a little bit of a tank and just kind of eat some soak and damage for everybody and whatnot.
So are you thinking that it has basic abilities, or does it just have an auto attack?
Well, I'm not sure. Well, I mean, obviously they probably could make it work with having abilities and stuff because of the fact that they have the Vikings implemented, which goes to show you can switch between units with different abilities and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I would imagine that they probably could. They could probably give it, like, I don't know, some kind of passive, like a cleave or something, and then maybe like an active armor buff that could like make it Hulk down and do less damage but take more damage, so you could really body people with it and you know, block stuff. And
Right. No, that's a really good idea. I really like that idea, that because that again, it's accomplishing our task at the beginning, what we talked about, gaining that map presence for a character like Abathur, or a character that's not necessarily in the fight itself, like the Overmind that we're forging.
Yeah.
So I think that's great, man. I think that's really good. And I think maybe if we went along the lines of, if you play the Overmind, you have to think of it like an RTS, where you would have to select this unit, just like the Terran Plague, and you would have to select, and when you selected it, it would change your basic abilities on your screen to allow you to control it. What do you think of that?
Yeah, for sure. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, man, I totally dig all those ideas. I think they're really cool. So, okay, so this is really the best part of the show. Now we get to talk about the most fun. Let's go ahead and talk about the heroics.
Oh, yeah.
Heroic!
All right, man, I've got some names for things that I could come up with, but I want to hear what your first heroic ability is.
All right, so, you know, it just makes sense, okay? Here's what I had in mind for his first heroic. Would be a Chrysalis, okay? You force an ally into stasis, they become immune to damage. It's, you know, they think like a Nubrax web wrap, but it's a friendly thing. And it can be killed and force the enemy out of the stasis, but the point is that the longer they're in there, they get a boost to their stats, like, you know, max health, you know, movement speed, damage, you know, so you got to hurry up and focus the egg down, and it'll be a huge buff, you know. So you got like a Jaina who's, I don't know, running from a Zeratul or something. You put her in the egg, he's sitting there smacking it, trying to kill it. She comes out, she's got like all that health back, she's just nuking him down, you know. So in a team fight, it can be used as like a big save on somebody, you know, or to just buff somebody up right before a fight. They're charging him with all these bonus stats and stuff.
Yeah, that is a great idea, and I'm already picturing it working kind of like Stim Drone, like the same sort of buff feeling for Stim Drone after you come out of it. And man, think about how the strategy in a team fight on both ends of this. So obviously, if you're on the opposing team, you're looking at this going, oh, we have to take that crystal down. Like, we've got to take it down now, or when they come out, they're going to be insane. And on your team, you're thinking, who do I want to put the crystal on so that they can A, get buffed, but B, they're not going to focus my other heroes as I lock that one down.
Yeah, it's like, do I use it to, I don't know, save the tank, or do I put it on the Rainer to make him really scary when he comes out? So, it gives you a lot of, strategy where you have to decide on which target would be best at that exact moment.
Yeah, that's great. And that also goes with the lore. I mean, because correct me if I'm wrong here, but it wasn't Kerrigan entombed inside of a crystal by the
that's where I
Overmind.
had the idea, and she went in Terran, came out Queen of Blades, and I thought, it'd be really cool to transform an allied hero with a massive buff, and, it could have like some kind of like infected, kind of aura plague thing around him to show that they're all transformed and stuff. It'd be kind of cool. Kind of like shadowy, like Abathur's clone looks or something.
Love it. I love that idea. Cool. Okay, let's lock that down. I got this name here. I'm trying to find. Let's call it let's see. Cuz in the lore they talk a little bit about Kerrigan and how that was considered the undoing when she became, the Queen of Blades. So maybe we could call it like the Undoing. That would be the name of the heroic ability.
That'd be fun.
Cool. Okay, let's call it that. And then what was your idea for the second heroic?
Okay, so, when you're thinking of ultimates, usually both ultimates have their place and they're both fairly different in use. I mean, like, how you've got Arthas and he's got his zombies, which is more of a tank ultimate, so he can keep healing himself and it blocks, skill shots. And then he's got Sindragosa, which is, more of like a big CC and to shut buildings down. So I thought, okay, so you have this big, frontal thing. So what about something a little more back, something that can be used to create a lot of pressure over time? And so I thought there was actually a building in StarCraft 2 in Heart of the Swarm that is like a big bio launcher, and it launches like what I basically is like a baneling, like a big glob of acid. And I thought, you could spawn this structure somewhere you have vision. You wouldn't want to put it like right in a lane or somewhere, people could see it. It would have a pretty long range, not ridiculously long, but fairly long range. And then you would just press your R to activate it, and then you'd have like the ring to show you the range. And you could launch like a delayed, acid blast to just bombard buildings and minion waves and whatnot. And like the projectile could just kind of fall to give the enemy team an idea of where it's coming from, so that they could go find it and kill it. But I mean, you could put this like, it wouldn't maybe necessarily reach from one side of like your fort to the enemy fort or anything, so that you couldn't just put it safely by your fort and just nuke the enemy bottom lane or anything. Right. But like, it would definitely be like a pressure, kind of like Tychus's laser, but instead of it being like a single target melt, it's just this big AoE blast of damage, so that people are having to watch out. You got these tendrils coming, there's minions blocking you, this huge like brutalisk in your face, you got these acid bombs flying at you, like just all kinds of stuff going on, in the team fights. That way, he still is there in the team fight, because with Abathur, you got the little hat and the little spikes, but with him it would be just like minions in your face and just bombs blowing up and all kinds of crazy stuff happening.
No, you want to have the feeling that your side of the map is getting taken over by the Zerg.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the feeling that you want.
You want to feel like you're being swarmed, like he is just omnipresent, and everywhere you go, he's there, so...
Nowhere is safe with the Overmind.
Mm-hmm.
I dig that, man. That's a really good idea, and I'm envisioning like the models of the buildings and stuff that are getting sprayed by this crap, and they're just oozing down and slowly eating away their health, and that's gonna be, when this gets added to the game, that's gonna be one of those moments that's like a tribute pop, where everybody's going to be like, oh, man, we got to go now, or we're going to lose that whole row of, fort keep, because it's just going to keep on, taking it down.
Yeah, that would be like with his passive. I mean, you got, if the Overlord would be hanging over your minion wave, and if, for example, it kind of like there was an old queen ability, it could actually just be a queen instead of an Overlord, and it would make a little more sense. But it could put like parasites in your minions, and then when the minion with the parasite dies, it spawns a broodling, which obviously isn't going to be as strong as most other summons, but it will still take damage, absorb tower shots, bots, push lanes in, so it's, sort of a threat. So it's like, if you're not paying attention to that lane, it's just going to eat away at your base slowly. The swarm's going in, he's dropping his mercenaries in, the big thing's tanking your fort and stuff. So, and then as soon as you go there to stop it, there he is on the other side of the map, moved to Cerebrate. Now he's stabbing you while you're trying to stop it and stuff. So he can be kind of everywhere.
How does the Overmind fight back when the core starts getting attacked?
I mean, I'm not really sure. I mean, at that point, the whole team would be just standing there trying to defend it like everybody else. Maybe it could have some form of, like, enrage mechanic, so that as the shield drops or, like, its health goes down, like, its cooldowns get lowered, or it just does more % damage and stuff.
Yeah,
so,
I think that would be something you'd probably talent into, right?
Yeah, probably. It would probably be like a 20 talent, since it would probably be a very late game thing anyway.
Yeah.
And it would be like, okay, guys, we're losing this game, so let me just go ahead and, tech into this. And it could be like, I don't know, like, when your shield gets broken, spawn like a horde of Zerglings and Hydralisks to protect you or something like that, or, stuff like that. Just very Zergy, rush at your enemy sort of a thing, like a big last-ditch effort to stop the enemy team kind of a thing.
Right, and I think it also could play off of the health of the Overmind. Like, what if you pop this ability, it's like it lands on 1 or something, like you can use it on your 1 key. If you pop this ability and the core is at less than 50% health, it does this X amount extra of cooler stuff and better stuff. And there are so many times, like when I'm watching these esports tournaments with Heroes of the Storm, where the casters are going crazy and they're like, oh, they're on the core and they're gonna win the game. How cool would it be if it was the Overmind and they just pop something crazy on the core when it's about to go down, changes the whole tide of the game. It just has a completely different feel, and it doesn't end so quickly, when they can call it out.
Yeah. Well, somebody in chat was mentioning it could possibly just have like a built-in mule mechanic where Zerg structures actually heal itself over time. Maybe you wouldn't even need a mule with the Overmind, since it's organic, and it would just heal itself, to making it more pressure in a fight, because you have to really burst it down because it's healing. Yeah.
Because, when you think of the core, you think that it can regen its shields, but what if the Overmind could regen the core health?
Everything, yeah.
Yeah. That might be OP, but I love it.
Yeah, I don't know if Blizzard would like that, because Blizzard's all about making games as quick as possible, but still, it would make sense since it's Zergy, but...
Right. And, when I had a great opportunity to go to BlizzCon this year, and I sat in the heroes panel, and they were talking about how they create heroes and they have to think about all of the heroes that they've created and how this new hero will affect them, and then also all of the future heroes that they're thinking of creating and how this would affect them too. So it's a huge,
it'd be an absolute balancing nightmare. Like, Abathur's already been the #1 nerfed hero in Heroes of the Storm since it was a game. And, it would not surprise me if, like, Overmind just didn't happen, because it would be a nightmare to balance. Because, it just brings up so many problems. Like, if I'm playing Kael'thas, a good Kael'thas might never die. A bad Kael'thas might go, like, 20 deaths. But, if you're playing the Overmind, even if killing, like, say, the fort with the Cerebrate kills the Overmind and puts him in a death timer and gives a bunch of experience, there's only so many deaths, per se, that the Overmind could have. So there's, like, a limit resource on how much XP he can give a team. So it would be, like, a huge advantage for his team, which Blizzard might not like that. So it would probably have to find some way to punish the Overmind and give the enemy team more experience and whatnot, so...
Yeah, you'd have to put a lot of XP on killing its spawns, like all of the things that it spawns to, maybe like as much as a hero or something. That'd be something you'd have to think about if you were Blizzard, right?
Yeah, it would be a pain to get all the numbers and cooldowns and everything tweaked right for him, but I would still absolutely love to see the Overmind implemented, honestly, in any kind of form with any kind of kit, just because, the Overmind in general is awesome, and I feel like Blizzard is, trying pretty hard to come up with some at least semi-unique heroes compared to other MOBAs. Because I mean, there's a lot of basic heroes and HOTS that you can compare directly to like League of Legends and Dota, but there are also some that no other MOBA has heroes like them at all. And I'd like to see Blizzard keep up with that trend to really stand out from all the competition and stuff. So
yeah, that's the thing I hear about other MOBAs, is that the reason people come over and even just try Heroes of the Storm is for things like Jogal, for Abathur, for the map objectives, for those cool things.
Yeah.
And when I was thinking about the Overmind in general, I also thought if it wasn't able to be created as a hero, to be different enough as different than Abathur, then the Overmind, what if it was a map? Like,
yeah,
what if
that would be
the
cool
Overmind
too.
lived in the middle of the map and there was some sort of objective where you had to go in and attack the Overmind, and if you attacked the Overmind, it made it mad and it started attacking the other structures. I mean, there's so much you can do with it, and I think that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, I actually had a really cool idea for a StarCraft map that I fired up on the forums, and a lot of people thought sounded really cool. Was in StarCraft 1, and I'm not sure if they have it in StarCraft 2 because I don't remember seeing one. But they had a kind of space station tile set where you're like, floating in space and battling or whatever. But I thought what would be kind of cool would be to have, like, for example, have like blue team have like a giant Hyperion, and the enemy team, like, and blue team would be Terran, the enemy team would be Zerg with a giant Leviathan, okay? And they're firing at each other, but not doing any damage like the Immortals. And, you'd have mercenary camps that are like Scourge, would bombard the enemy's shields, and basically you would be fighting to capture like anti-air guns that would lower the enemy's shields, and then you would actually board the enemy ship and fight them on the inside to destroy like the reactor or like the heart of the Leviathan or whatever. And I feel like it'd be neat. You know what I mean? It's
That's
just something
really
different.
neat. So it'd have a feel kind of like Haunted Mines, where you would go into a different portion of the map, which would happen to be their
It would be
ship.
3 different portions, and on the mini map you'd have like bottom left would be like the Hyperion, bottom right would be the Leviathan, and the middle's the big, just the big platform. I mean, it might just be like 2 lanes with like a couple guns, like at the very top, the middle, the bottom, and then it would be like capture points and stuff. And it would be like a big mix of like Haunted Mines, Sky Temple, and like Battlefield of Eternity, like a big hybrid of everything. And and it would be great because they're pulling a lot of their models and stuff from their other games, and I mean they could have it so like the melee units for the Terran are fire bats, and the range units would be like like Marines, and the siege would be freaking siege tanks, and the Zerg would have like their Zerglings and their Hydralisks, and they'd have like Ravagers and stuff, and like it would just feel like a big StarCraft battle that you're taking part in, which I think would be pretty neat.
Yeah, because that's something you would have to, because the Diablo maps do a great job of the essence of the feeling of the game. These big immortals are fighting each other in the middle, and you've got hell on one side and heaven on the other side, and that. So, like we talked about before, the feeling of the StarCraft, at least what I've played and seen of StarCraft, is just masses of units, just masses
everywhere,
of things battling each other, and yeah. I think that's really cool. And, if we ever get to forging battlegrounds on this show, I want to have you back on and we can totally talk about that.
Yeah.
And come up with some really good ideas. But, man, this was awesome, forging the Overmind. We got some really cool things. One mind to rule them all, the hero's trait, where the Overmind replaces the core and spawns fellow Zerg to join minions in battle. We have the mounting ability, which is the gas that increases the movement speed of allied heroes, and so you definitely want to look out for that when you're fighting in a team fight, because they're going to be chasing you down. Mm-hmm. And then we got that tendril, that tentacle that shoots out from the ground and can be spec'd in our minds. It could be spec'd to become a body blocking ability. It could stay there. It's definitely going to do some serious damage to the heroes that it hits as it shoots its sharp spike out. The Overmind can drop down the plagued Terran down on a lane, and they jump out and can be controlled like in an RTS fashion by the Overmind to fight against minions and other heroes. And then we start going into some really cool heroic abilities where we're spawning things that can take out towers with ooze and all that stuff. And I think that it definitely has the feel of A, StarCraft, and B, the Zerg, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see Blizzard, go down that route.
Yes, so Blizzard, if you're listening, listen to us. Listen to chat. You should do all of these things. Well, there it is. I think that we definitely have a Hero Forged.
Hero Forged.
All right, so the hero will be posted on the website, which is HeroesForge.club, and the community out there is encouraged to comment and discuss these ideas further. We want to hear your ideas about talent trees. We want to hear your ideas that, things that you maybe agree with what we said, things that you think might be better. We want to hear it all. That's HeroesForge.club, and the community is also encouraged to submit ideas to our email address, which is contactheroesforge@gmail.com. Ideas of heroes you might want to see forged for the Nexus. If you'd like to be on the show, send us an email and we can see how that might help. We forged last week the Dark Wanderer, and you can check that out on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/heroesforge, and also on our website, which again is heroesforge.club. Dude, it was so great having you on the show. This is really, really awesome because I love to talk to somebody that's, just as passionate about streaming, passionate about Heroes of the Storm, and all of the other Blizzard universes. So, dude, tell everybody out there, which I think most of the people out there listening now are part of your stream, but tell everybody out there where they can find you on the interwebs.
Hey, everybody. You can find me on twitch.tv/Abather1613. I stream from about 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern, 7 days a week. You can follow me on Twitter at AbatherJM, and my YouTube channel is YouTube/Abather. And I believe that's actually it. So,
dude, you locked down that YouTube/Abather. That's pretty
I think so. Well, it actually might be YouTube/C/Abather, because I'm pretty sure it's actually nitpicky about it. But but yeah.
Okay, well, I'll find your YouTube channel and I'll put it in the comments here so that
I can link it to you later if you want.
Great, yeah, and I'll put it down there. So if you're looking for Abather1613 YouTube channel, you can find that in the show notes below. Also, make sure you follow Heroes Forge on Twitter, which is @ForgeHeroes. Our show is also on iTunes. You can check us out on iTunes and download the show there. And if you'd like to support the show, we started a Patreon page. You can find us at patreon.com/HeroesForge. That's patreon.com/HeroesForge. And over there, we have some really great Patreon goals that hopefully we can get to in the future, where we can get to forging those battlegrounds, or we can have more episodes and a lot of really cool stuff like that. So check that out too if you'd like to support the show there. So before we go, tell everybody a little bit about the front page of Twitch.
Oh yeah, Wednesday coming up, I will be featured on the front page of Twitch at about 10 a.m. to noon every single Wednesday for the next 12 weeks. That'll be starting on January 20th, that Wednesday. So if you guys want to come watch and hang out and see some crazy Abather plays, be sure to stop by and say hello. I don't bite.
Yes, and you're downplaying that a little bit because this is the front page of Twitch, people.
I know,
this is really awesome.
It's scary. It really is. I'm not
No,
sure
man,
how this
you're
is gonna go.
you're a pro. It'll be just like another slug day for you.
Probably. I'm hoping so. I'm hoping nothing bad happens.
But
so.
only with like 10 million viewers.
Yeah, I have no idea what to expect on how many viewers there might be. I have no idea. So
I'll be there watching, and I know a lot of other people will be there supporting you, dude. So that is totally great. Just a reminder, Heroes Forge streams live every Sunday night at 7 o'clock Pacific time at twitch.tv/HeroesForge. Make sure you follow us over there on Twitch so that you can get updates on when we go live. And check out our previous episodes. The Dark Wanderer was forged from the Diablo universe last week, and then there's an intro show that was recorded the week before that gives you a little background on me and the story that we're telling each episode. So, man, this was great, and I think we're gonna call it there. So thank you so much again for joining us, Abathur1613. I am honored to have a front page Twitch streamer on the show.
Well, thanks for having me, but I had an absolute blast, and I'm glad I could help you out. So.
Yeah, man. I hope we can do this again sometime. So,
absolutely.
All right, everybody. That was HeroesForge, and we will see you in the real world.
Mm-hmm.